Please subscribe to my channel and click on the bell icon to get the regular updates of my channel, and do not forget to like, comment and share. Hello everyone, welcome back to SaaS with ServiceNow. This is part of Project Portfolio Management training. In this training, you will learn about applications in Project Portfolio Management Suite in ServiceNow and learn about managing life cycle of a project. This training is recorded in Paris version of ServiceNow. Section 3, Demand Management. In this section, you will learn about creating and managing demands in ServiceNow platform. You will learn about features of demand management application in ServiceNow. You will learn about demand states and flow, demand assessment process and approvals. What is demand management? The demand management application within ServiceNow provides users with a single location to capture, organize, and assess strategic and operational demands. Demand management terms. Before we learn about the features and capabilities of demand management, let's see the important terms used in demand management, which will help you to understand demand management application much better. Portfolio. Portfolio is a collection of demands managed as a group to achieve strategic and operational objectives. A portfolio can be a business unit which gets demands for different applications supported by same business unit. Metric. Metric is a value used to evaluate assessable records. A metric can measure subjective values in an assessment questionnaire or gather objective values in a database query. Assessable record. A demand record that you want to evaluate for metric type demand. You evaluate the accessible records with metric categories and metrics. Stakeholder. Stakeholder is a user affected by demand or who is associated with the demand. Scorecard. Scorecard is a visual breakdown on performance of accessible record based on assessment results. Requirement. Requirement is an item or action which needs to be completed before demands gets closed. Demand task. Demand tasks are initial planning activities involved to fulfill the demand before converting demand into the project. Metric type. Metric type is a characteristics that defines a set of records you want to evaluate. Demand management comes with the metric type demand which uses record from the demand table. Metric category. Metric category is a theme for evaluating accessible records. Categories contain one or more individual metrics which has specific values. Demand management application. This is the demand management application in ServiceNow which is used to manage demands of any organization. This is my personal developer instance. Now in left hand side, if I type demand, so you will see this demand application, which is used to manage and track demands in your organization. And you also have demand application, I think just one module in self-service as well. The reason behind it, because even end users can create and submit demands, which can be fulfilled by different teams. Let's see the demand process flow. Now, demand process flow starts with user submits an idea from idea portal. Once idea is submitted, it is accepted and demand is created from that idea. Or demand manager or end user can also create demand directly using demand management application. Then that demand is enhanced, in which demand manager update the details of demand like stakeholders, requirements, risks, decisions, demand tasks, cost, benefit, and resource plan, etc. Then relevant people perform screening and assessment of that same demand. Now, once demand is approved and work is completed for that particular demand, then demand is closed, which means demand is completed successfully. Types of demand. There are two types of demand in ServiceNow: strategic and operational. Strategic demand is a kind of request which can lead to the creation of an enhancement or project or a story, etc. Then we have operational demand, which can lead to the creation of a change or a defect, which is for operational work. Users of demand management. Now, who are the users who use demand management application? All end users who can submit any kind of demand via self-service catalog. And you have seen that module under self-service application as well. Another is demand manager, who can use the demand management application to assess ideas, promote ideas to demands, enhance and assess demands, and create a project from that demand. Even it can be accessed by different users like stakeholders, who basically have to provide some feedback or assess the record or perform screening in the demand. But majorly you have users and the demand managers and the reviewers who actually review the demand. Demand management states. Now, demand goes through different stages. When you actually create a demand, it goes with different states, and what those states are. So the first one is draft. When new demand is created, then state becomes draft. Next is submitted. When user process, but that means submit the demand, then state becomes submitted. And that demand, why it is submitted? Just for screening, just for enhancement, just to review the demand. Now, after that, you have screening. When stakeholders screen the demand, they review the demand, whether that demand can be approved or not. So they perform the assessment. And then next is qualified. Once all the assessment is done and that demand is basically qualified to be completed, in that case, that state becomes qualified. And then it goes for approval and approved. And once action is taken, then demand is closed. So first it gets qualified once all the assessment is done. Then it gets approved. After approval, you perform the action, you close all the activities or whatever demand user has asked for, then that is completed, and then you can say the demand is closed. But there are also some other states available in demand record, like incomplete, deferred, rejected, because demand can also be rejected, demand can also be incomplete, demand can also be deferred. And those are the different states which you can use on the basis of different situations you get during processing a demand. Demand management roles. ServiceNow has 3 out-of-the-box roles to manage demand management application. Demand approver, who approves the demand, and the name of the role is demand_approver. Next is IT demand manager, IT_demand_manager, who manages the new demands, their screening, and facilitates the prioritization of IT demands. And the third one is IT_demand_user, IT demand user, who can create the IT demands in the system. Now, these are all major roles which are basically used in demand management application. And you can assign to the different people as per the use case you have, or as per the access you want to give those users to in basically demand management application. Now let's see the process of creation and processing of demand with these 3 roles. So we will start with creation of different users with these 3 different roles, including self-service as well. Overall, four users. So we will create 4 different users. Out of them, we will create 3 users with 3 different roles we have of demand management, and one is just without any role. That means that will be self-service user. So let's create all these three users with those roles. So before that, I will just go to users table and I will check for that self-service user as well if you already have. So you can see if you already have this self-service user, if you don't have to create this fourth user, we will just create three users with those three individual roles of demand management. So we will start with demand approver first. So I will mention here demand, and I think for this is user ID. So I will mention demand approver, and here I will mention demand approver, and I will save this and I will add the role. So here I can just search for demand. Now you will see some other roles as well, like with the same name, which we have this demand manager and demand user. So you can see here we also have demand manager. Here we have IT demand manager, IT demand user, but we also have demand manager and demand user. Now these roles you should not use. If I can show you directly in the roles table as well, so that you understand that ServiceNow has deprecated these roles. So I will just mention demand. So you can see we have all these five roles, and we have these, and here you can see demand manager, demand user, do not use, refer IT demand manager, do not use. That's what it says. So you can just ignore these two roles. You have to just focus on 1, 2, 3, these three roles. So I will go here and I will first add demand approver, and that's it. I will just save it. So this is demand approver. Now I will create demand user. So I will mention demand user. I will do insert and stay. And now I will add that role. So I will click on edit, and we will also add ITIL role. So I will mention ITIL first, and here I will mention demand, or maybe we should not. We will see if what kind of access this user will have. So I will just mention demand, and we already have that. I will just, we already have this demand user, IT demand user you have to add, not this one. I will click on save. This is also added, and this user have got these roles, IT demand user, and okay, this one is also inherited, even the baseline user as well. So that's totally fine. And now I will put demand.manager, and here I will put manager, and I will do insert and stay, and I will do edit, and I will add that demand manager role. So here, this one, and I will click on save. It is saved. And you can see this, after adding that demand manager role, IT demand manager role, it has got a lot of other roles, approx, I would say, 22 to 30 extra roles this user has got. So that's totally fine. Now okay, so we have created all these threse users. We also have self-service user in this particular instance. Now what I will do, I will show you by impersonating these different users, and we will see what kind of access these users have. So let's see that. So I will start impersonating approval user, demand approver user first. So I will click on impersonate, and here I will mention demand approver. So we will impersonate this user first and see what kind of access this user has. So if I type demand in left hand side, you can see that this demand approver user cannot see demand management application. However, you can still see it, create new in my demands, because that is accessible to self-service user. But this user can approve demands. How he can approve? He can definitely maybe go to my demands if he has created, but in self-service, you also have, I think, module for approvals directly. So you can approve them. If I go to approve, I think approve, this user doesn't has, but I think if this user will get a new demand, he will be able to access things for approvals. My requested item, I think, I don't see any approval, because maybe this user doesn't have, we have not added approval role, but that's totally fine. I think he can still maybe approve it, but we will see it later when we will create it. So for now, I think I can just maybe impersonate another one. That'll be demand user. That's the second one. So we will impersonate this one and we will see what kind of access this user has. Absolutely. You can see that now this user has more access than demand approval because it is a demand user. So you can see I can access this demand management application, but I cannot access all other, like I think you can, if I would impersonate with demand manager, I'm sure you would be able to see some other modules as well, but here you cannot see, but you can still see all the demands. If I click on all, I can see all the demands created in the system. And let's see if I click on this demand record. So this is the basically demand record which you create. So I cannot access this. I think it is completed. That's the reason I'm not able to access. Now I will impersonate demand manager. So if I go to demand manager and let's see what kind of access demand manager would have. So if I type demand, yes, you can see, I can see roadmap. I think demand user will not be able to, that IT demand user will not be able to see this roadmap, but I can see workbench, create new. Okay, it's kind of same access, but I think demand manager can assess the records as well. So this would definitely have more access than demand user. So maybe you have this demand draft, I can just open it. So these are all demand records. Now I was just talking about the access as of now. We will definitely create demands and see how you can manage demands or how demand is processed in ServiceNow instance. Create a demand. Now I will create a demand with those users which we have created in our instance, in my personal developer instance. We will try to create it, one with self-service access and another with maybe demand manager access, and we will see that what kind of fields that particular user can see. So if I go to my personal developer instance, I will start with self-service. So I will impersonate self-service user. So here we have self-service user. Now self-service user will not be able to access demand management application. So you can see here that self-service user cannot access. So now I will click on this create new button to create a demand. So I will click on create new. Now here I have to provide the name of the demand. It could be anything as per the requirement you have. Maybe if I talk about using ServiceNow in mobile, that's a demand I have. I'm a self-service user, but I still want to use ServiceNow in mobile. If there's any mobile app, I don't know, I'm just a self-service user. So using ServiceNow in mobile, it's a proposal, it's a demand I have. Then we have this collaborators. So I can just mention collaborators name, that who all people they are collaborating in this particular demand. So maybe I can just search for those people and I can just add it. Maybe this Abraham Lincoln, and I can just add maybe Adam Ringel as well. And I can close this. Then I will provide business case. Now what is the business case here? You want to implement this. Now business case this, that I will not write much, but I want to use ServiceNow in mobile. That's a demand I have. Then risk of performing. So is there any risk of performing? If you will perform this implementation, perform this demand, will there be any risk? No. Risk of not performing? I think there's no risk. So there's no risk as well. I will mention no. Assumption, no. That's it. I'm done. And then I will do one thing. I will maybe save this. Now in demand management, you have two things, save and submit. So when you click on submit, it will definitely be saved, but it will also be submitted. So if I talk about, let's talk about incident. In incident, if you submit, it creates a record. If you save, it also creates the record. But in demand management, it's quite different. Submit means you have submitted it for screening, for assessment now, for review now. Saving is just like creation of the record. That's it. After submitting, that means now you have submitted. But if I talk about the initial view, the button which you see submit, that will definitely just create the demand. It will not exactly submit it in the first view, but now you can see it has been saved. But then you have to click on submit, because in self-service you can just provide maybe more details if you want. Once you are done, that okay, I'm done with this demand and I really want to submit this because I'm done what all information I need to provide. So I can just click on submit here. Once you will click on submit demand, these fields will become read only, and you cannot edit them because you have submitted this demand for further processing. Now what I will do, now I will impersonate, this is the first demand which we have created, and you can see, you cannot also see the number, that what demand record you have, like it has created. If I go to my demands, maybe it will show there, yes. So you can see it is showing this using ServiceNow mobile. If I sort like this, so you can see I have this demand at the top, and this is the demand number, but on this screen I cannot see that, but here I can see. So now, and I have this business case. Now I will create demand with the demand manager role. So I will impersonate demand manager, because demand manager will have access to the demand management application, and we will see that how exactly demand manager can create. Will he see the same fields or different fields? So if I come here and I type demand, I have this create new button in demand management application as well. If I click here, click create new, you can see this time I have more fields. That means demand manager, because he has definitely more roles, more access than that self-service user, because he's the main person who will review, who will enhance the demand. So you can see I can create the demand. So let's say I'm a demand manager, and I basically get the demands from different teams, maybe via emails. So if somebody marked an email to me that, hey Gaurav, I think this is something, this is a new demand I want to implement, or maybe the same one, I will mention the same one, implementation. Now I'm a demand manager, so I will definitely provide the better name, because self-service user might not provide a better name every time, but I'm a demand manager, I should have all the information. So I will just mention implementation of mobile app. Now this is a demand I have. Now what kind of category? So I can just select the category, whether it is strategic or operational. Now this is not operational, this is not a defect or a change, it's a strategic demand. So I will keep selecting strategic. Now here I have to select whether it's a project, it's an enhancement, epic, story. Ideally it's definitely a project, big project. It's an implementation of mobile app, so it has to be project. Here I can provide the start date, end date, so I can put like start date here, and then I can maybe put maybe from 1st of July, and here I can put maybe by end of December. So I will put here 31st December, and then I can also select some other records, like you have these portfolio, program, but I don't think if we have any record. Let's see if we have. Yes, we do have some demo records. Maybe this is, I can mention product development. This is a product development. I can select the program as well. Now we will talk about portfolio management, program management in our further series. In further series, you will see that we will talk about program management and portfolio management in details. But here we are just talking about demand management. You can see we don't have any program, that's fine. And I can just provide some other information. But as of now, I'm just creating the demand. So I can just save it for now. I can just save it. So this demand is basically saved. I have not submitted yet. So as of now, you can say that this is how you create a demand, but the view is totally different for a demand manager and for a self-service user, because self-service user can see only few fields, but demand manager can see more fields, much more fields than self-service user. Maybe we will also try to create demand with this demand user role. So maybe I will impersonate that demand user. I will click here. I will impersonate demand user now, because it's to see the difference. And if I type demand, I can see the application. And if I click on create new, I think demand user will also see same kind of data. So you can see, but there is a difference here. Let's say I will provide here implement mobile app. That's a difference we want to see. So you can see here we have category. So I can select category, I can select type, I can select the date as well. Maybe I will select 1st July and here I will select 31st December. Now here you cannot see portfolio because that can only be selected by demand manager, not demand user. So I can only select program, not portfolio. Okay. And you can see here the demand user can actually select the programs which demand manager was not able to see. Ideally, I think it is based on portfolio maybe, because I think this is program manager. Let me check. I think these are the different programs maybe which are already created, but that's fine. I think this user can still select those programs. So maybe I will mention, we don't want to basically select anyone. So, but overall, we just want to see the difference. So you can see I cannot select the project manager as well, but I think demand manager can definitely see that. So business case I can access. I cannot use this one, assessment one. Yeah, I can edit a lot of fields. We will talk about these fields as well. But overall, demand user can also create, but I think even demand user also has limited access, but not that much. That means even demand user can also create and fill a lot of data in demand management application. Enhance a demand. Now, once demand is submitted, it goes to a demand manager who will review the demand and add additional details in the demand for further assessment, majorly cost details and stakeholders. So let's go to the instance and update those details. So we will impersonate with demand manager. So we already have this demand manager, and which particular demand we will edit? Basically the one which was submitted by self-service user, not the one which was created by demand manager. So what we will do, I will go to demand, and here I can click on all, and I will see what all new demands were submitted. So we have this retire, this one. I think I should take updated one so that I can sort this correctly. So I will select updated fields and I will sort this. And yes, we have this using ServiceNow. Now this was the one which basically demand manager created, and this is the one which basically end user, that self-service user created. So I will take this one. So I will open this one, and I can access definitely all the fields here. Now I will start filling up the information. Now, because this is the demand which I have to review, and I will basically update the details, maybe the cost details. I can also update the resourcing details and other details so that this can be sent for review. So what I will do now, I will basically go to the details. It doesn't have any portfolio, but even doesn't have dates as well. So let's say I will put as start date myself. So I will put it as 1st of July, and I will just mention here maybe 31st of December. This is just till December this will work. Then I can just put for portfolio. I will select product development. Can I select program now? No, not at all. I can't select program again. I can select investment class, so whether it's run or change. So you can select maybe change. It's definitely a change because it's implementing the whole new product, that is the implementation of mobile app. Then you can select investment type, that is cost reduction, end user experience, legal. I think this is for end user experience. So you can put end user experience, submitted by. So here you can see who actually submitted it. Now here it says demand manager. So you can select the demand manager. If I select here, it will show you all those users who I think have that demand manager role. So you can see we have 27 users. if I search for demand, yep, you can see not other users are visible here like demand user or demand approver, but demand manager is definitely there. So I can select demand manager. And if you remember, we selected collaborators when self-service user was creating the ticket. So you can see here we have those same collaborators. And then here I can select department if we have any. I'm sure because we do have demo data. So maybe I will put IT. Business unit, I will select business unit if we have any. This is again IT. I can select project manager. Now somebody has to manage this, right? So as a project manager, so we can select any project manager, maybe this person, Eileen Motter. Impacted business units if you want, if business capabilities, business applications. Now all these fields are out of the box fields. So now I will maybe go to business case. We already have those information. Now we will create the cost plan because that is also really important. So you are a demand manager, you are screening this particular demand and you want to create the cost plan, that how much this plan would cost. That's something you can provide, that only you can plan and implement this implementation, like this mobile implementation. If I go to assessment notes, I think as of now we will not provide these data. And I think this is kind of enough details right now because, but I have to submit the cost plan. So I will save this. And as of now, you can see the state says submitted. So initially we had draft, then we have submitted. Now I will create the cost plan. So if I go here we have cost plans here. So I will create a cost plan. Maybe I will go to financials. Here you can also provide data, that capital expense and all, that's something you can provide, but that's fine. We can also manage it directly with the cost plan. So I will click on new because we will create the cost plan. Here I will provide implementation cost. So I will put implementation cost. Here I can select the fiscal period. I think that will be, maybe I will put I think, let me search for 21. We do have 21. So this is for maybe June. And end, maybe this end will be there in, I have to search that again, 21 till December. So I will select December. That's a cost plan I'm putting. Now here you can select the currency. And what currency? Not every organization, it depends, right? What kind of currency some people might use. Some organization might use INR. Some might use USD. Some might use some other currencies. So in that case, you can select what is the unit cost. That's something you can provide if you want. Quantity you can provide. Then you can provide cost type. Now what kind of cost this is, that you can definitely provide. This is maybe I can select software, maybe OPEX. Yeah, I can select software OPEX, and I have reoccurring, that's fine. You have product model. If you want to select product model, I think it will be ServiceNow. Let's search if we are getting ServiceNow. Yes, I think it says software license. Maybe that model if you want to select. Yes, this is totally fine. It says total planned cost and it says unit cost. I think I can put unit cost maybe. Let's keep it 0 for now. Let's see what kind of cost we will get, because it's asking for unit cost. I think I can still provide, maybe I will put 10. Okay, it changed to GBP. Maybe I can just put change to USD, and then I can submit it. So I am submitting this cost plan. So you can see, now you can go to your financial sections. Now you can see it has updated something. It has updated the total planned cost is just $10, and then its financial return is like minus. I think we should update this. If I click on this implementation cost, and if I change this a unit cost, maybe I will put 10,000. That's a cost it will take, 10,000, and I will update this 10,000, and this time you can see we have got total plant cost is $10,000, and we have this financial return is minus. That means because this cost will be deducted for sure. And financial benefit, now this is something you can definitely provide, that how much benefit you will get out of this implementation. I think it's a new implementation. It will make the work more efficient, but I don't think this will give financial benefit because there's an extra cost you're putting. It will definitely improve the efficiency, but not maybe financial benefit. So that's totally fine. And if I still go to this cost plan, and if I go a little bit here, you can see it has breakdown. Now all those $10,000. So let's say you assume that, okay, this will take $10,000. Now you can see it has a breakdown of all those dollars, like cost basically per month, that how much of cost you will be there. It will be there per month. It has divided that, and it says entered cost, functional cost. And you have exchange rate and other details as well if you want to fill. I think there are a lot of different features you will find in cost management as well. So I can go to the demand now. And here, if you have to provide some other details as well, like you can select the rate model. If you want to really provide, if you have any financial benefit, in this case, we don't assume, but let's say if you have any other demand and if you think that will save the cost, then you can definitely provide that information here. Create demand stakeholders. It's time to create stakeholders who will be part of demand assessment and should be impacted due to the implementation of the demand, like process owners, product owners. Demand manager has to make sure that the appropriate stakeholders are added in the demand record. So you have to go to the related list of the demand. In related list, you will see this stakeholders related list. You can already see these three records in this particular demand, which says these are already created. Now, why they have been added? The reason behind it, because they are part of that portfolio. So if you remember, we already selected portfolio here, product development. Now, as part of the process, it automatically picks up those records. So in this product development, we have three different people, which are basically related to product development portfolio. And their function says here like director of finance, business analyst, and BRM, business relationship manager. So these three people are already added automatically. So if you have one portfolio, in that portfolio, you can already define a lot of people, and then those people will automatically be added as stakeholders. But let's say, even if you want to add maybe create new stakeholder, you can definitely do that. So you have two options here. One is add existing. Another is create new. Now, if you will do that, so let's try to add existing first. Click on add existing. It will open up this basically screen, and this will ask you that to add new people. So let's say we have this person, so I will just click on save. Now this Barbara will be added as a new stakeholder as well. So I will go down and you can see 4 stakeholders. You can also create new stakeholder. Now you can see this numbering to this stakeholders. The reason behind it, because this stakeholder has a different table as well in ServiceNow. So if I click on create new, this will create a new record as well. Basically, you can see it says a stakeholder registered. So you're going to create a new stakeholder, and let's say I will click here. Maybe I will add Abraham Lincoln, and I will select the portfolio level of interest, maybe high. Then I will do assessment recipient, whether this person will get assessment. That means he's an important person who needs to do assessment for this demand. If you want that, then you can definitely select yes. Do you want it as approver? Yeah, we can select yes as well. Influence, we will maybe keep high. Engagement, maybe leading, you can say it's leading. And then here you can put function, any function you want, maybe tech lead, something like that, maybe tech lead. And then I will just click on submit. Now this will create the record as well in the stakeholder register. That's the one thing. Second thing, it will automatically add in the demand record as well. So you can see in demand record stakeholder related list, you can see this stakeholder as well. So that's how you can add stakeholders in a demand. Demand assessment. Assessing a demand is an important part of the demand process, as it gathers information in order for decision makers to determine if a demand should be approved or rejected. Assessments help score demands so that demand managers can better understand risk value to the business. The main benefit of assessment is the ability to get collective feedback on demand value and risk. So basically you have this feature of doing the assessment of a demand. Now, demand manager should only send the demand for further screening after validating the financials of the demand and make sure that whatever estimated cost is updated in the demand is the right estimation. Now, before sending a demand for assessment, it's really important that demand is like all the financials are properly updated in that demand record before it is sent for assessment. Now let's see what fields are updated for financials before sending that particular demand for assessment. So that's basically called prepare demand for assessment. So we have to prepare that demand, and that's what demand manager does, that before sending it for assessment, he basically review the whole demand and updates all the required details. So if I go to my instance, we have already impersonated demand manager, and we already have this record. So what I can do, because before sending it for assessment, financials are really important. So you can see we have this financials here. Now we have different fields. We have already updated few fields by cost plan. But if I talk about what exactly these fields are. So if I start with rate model. Now it is something collection of rate lines associated to a project or demand to deliver date effective criteria driven hourly rate. So basically what kind of rate model you want to follow in this particular demand, you can just mention that. And as of now it says group user role. So that's how this rate model. So you can mention any rate model you want. It has to be just available here to be selected. Next field we have is capital expense. Now this is something expense which is used to buy or maintain or improve assets. So basically if you have to buy something to maybe you have to purchase a tool, all those expenses, that will be called as basically capital expense. Then you have operating expense. Now operating expense is something day-to-day expenses incurred basically. So day-to-day expenses, how exactly that cost will come. That means daily activity, delivery, maybe developers have to work on that particular project. All that operating expenses will be mentioned here. You can see capital expense is still empty, like there is just zero. What I think I can maybe update it. We have, I think this is software OPEX. If I create a new plan, let's create a new plan. I will mention maybe support cost. Ideally that this should be operational. That's fine. I'm just putting support cost, and I can select here June, and I can select here December, and unit cost type. Now what kind of cost this is? External labor, hardware, capex, labor. Maybe I will just mention labor OPEX. I think that is, yeah, labor OPEX. Then I will maybe just submit it. Let's see if it will update something. I think I added 0, so I will still update it. That's really important. So I will update that as well. I think it's taking time to load, so I will just select this one, and I will mention unit cost maybe 5,000, and then I will just update it, and I will go to the demand now. And okay, again it just added operating expense. And if I add, let's say another one, let's say this one, labor capex. and I will select here 5,000, and here I can select the fiscal year. I can just mention that. I will mention maybe labor cost, and I will just submit it, and let's see what kind of okay, you can see here, this is because capex is the capital expense. Now this is operating expense and this is capital expense. So as I mentioned, capital expense is something which you basically expenses to buy something, maintain something, and improve assets, and operating is something in day-to-day operation, what exactly money you need. I think ideally, if I talk about implementation cost, will always come in capex, not in opex, because that's a capital expense. You need to implement that application, but that's fine. This is just a demo. Then you have financial benefit. As I mentioned, like you can mention what kind of benefit we will get, or organization will get if you will implement this application. If you want, just for example, I'm just putting, maybe we will save 10,000 financial benefit, and now you can see it says total planned cost is this, financial benefit is this, like we will get 10,000. That means we yearly cost, and what kind of benefit we will get every year, we might save approx 10,000, you can mention here. Then you have discount rate. Now discount rate is something, interest rate to determine the present value of future cash flows. And just to have that difference, that what would be the interest rate to determine the present value of future, because let's say we have 10,000 today. Now what kind of discount rate it would be, so that it can calculate as per the future cash flows, that you can select in discount rate. I think these are kind of financial language as well sometimes, so you might not be, but if I talk about project managers, they will be definitely be able to understand that what exactly these terms are and how they can use it. Now some fields are auto populated, which I just mentioned, like total planned cost, which is sum of capital and operational expenses. Financial return, this is basically the difference between financial benefit and total planned cost. So that is something it will calculate here. So I can maybe save this. Let's try to save this, because it was still showing 20,000. Now you can see financial return shows 10,000. Now this is basically the difference between financial benefit and total planned cost. Then you have net present value, which you can see here. It is basically calculated from total planned cost per year. So whatever total planned cost you have per year, financial benefit per year, and the discount rate for the demand. So it calculates as per the data you provide here as well. Maybe I will put 5%. Let's see what data we get here. If I do 5%, okay, it's nothing here. That's fine, I think. But overall, it gets calculated with planned cost, total planned cost per year, financial benefit per year, and the discount rate for that particular demand. That's how it is calculated. And then we also have internal rate of return. That means annual interest rate required to achieve that particular NP, basically net present value of 0. How exactly you want to achieve that, that's something you can put here. I think if I talk about, most people don't use these fields in organizations. It's totally up to you whether you want to use it or not. It's not mandatory to use. Then you have basically demand actual cost. Now this shows the demand actual cost as well. Now actual cost of all demand tasks and actual cost of all extra activities basically. So if I talk about, let's say we have any requirements and you want to have some cost for that particular activity, that you can mention here, and which will definitely come here, because that's a actual cost of that all demand tasks you do, or all the actual cost of extra activities you have to perform this demand, to fulfill this demand. Types of assessment. There are two types of assessment in demand management: demand metrics, assessment metrics. Now in demand metrics, assessment is done on the basis of data entered by demand manager related to cost, ROI, size. Now cost is calculated as per the values provided in capital expense and operational expense fields by demand manager. ROI is calculated as per the values provided in financial return and impact fields. And size is the effort needed to complete that demand. Now, once demand manager updates the data for that particular demand metrics, then assessment metrics comes into the picture. So after updating the data in that demand for demand metrics, then assessment metrics comes into the picture. In assessment metrics, assessment is done on the basis of data entered by stakeholders, which is provided via assessment survey. Now, this assessment metric includes strategic alignment and risk. Now, these stakeholders get surveys which has set of questions so that assessment can be done for that particular demand. The data which I was talking about for demand metrics is basically the cost, total cost which you have here, capital expense and operating expense. Then you have ROI, which is basically calculated. So you can see that overall we spent $20,000 and we got benefit of 10,000. That means you are basically getting financial return of minus 10,000. So only you overall cost which you are putting for this implementation is just 10,000 because you are getting financial benefit as well. And return on that particular investment is 50%, like minus 50. It's basically just 50. So you whatever you are basically putting the cost, that's minus 50. You're not spending 100%. You are getting something basically, and that is minus 50. Now, another thing is size. And now this ROI is also dependent on, we have this impact. This is also really important for assessment of the demand. So we have this impact. So this will definitely have high impact. So as a demand manager, it's your responsibility to fill this data as well. And another is t-shirt size. That what is the complexity, that how exactly, how much time, what is the complexity we have to implement this application. So this will be definitely be, I would say maybe not extra large, but at least large, because it's a mobile implementation. This will be definitely a big thing for any organization. Now, another thing you have here, assessment required. Now, this is very important field as well. As I mentioned about that, when you for screening of the demand, you basically send a survey. That's basically an assessment survey which is sent to the stakeholders, which are basically eligible to fill the survey, fill the assessment, and so that assessment can be done for that particular demand. But let's say if you don't want that, then you can uncheck this box. And if you really want to enable assessment and you want to send that assessment survey and do the assessment, then you can just keep this checkbox checked. And this is basically by default checked. Now, once you are done with all financial data, all these values which are really required for this demand to be assessed, then you can just click on this screen. Once you will do that, this particular demand will be sent for assessment. So what I can do, I can just click on screen because I'm a demand manager, and now I know that, okay, this demand is ready for screening, that people can provide the do the assessment and provide the results. So if I go a little bit bottom, now you will see some difference. Now here we have assessment instance and we have assessment results as well. So if I reload it, you will see that it has created assessment records. So here we have assessment instance. I cannot see this. Maybe I don't have access. And here it says about results. And let's see if somebody has received any assessment record. I am trying to basically refresh it, but I cannot see that. That's totally fine. We will do one thing. Let me check if this person will get assessment. Let me basically I will mention here assessment. Okay, we already have assessment recipient. I will just maybe reload it and I will add here. I will see if the person, which particular user has received that assessment record. Yes, okay, only 2 persons. What we will do, let's impersonate this person. And we will see whether this person can see that assessment record or not. So I can just go here. I can just impersonate this user and see if this user has received any record for review. So I will come here and yep, we have this assessment, my assessment. And if I click that, absolutely, you can see here, I got it. This particular demand, it says using ServiceNow in mobile. Absolutely. So I can just click on take assessment. Now I will provide manual assessment to this particular record. So here I have some questions. So basically, as I mentioned, we have two demand assessments. One is demand metrics. Another is basically assessment metrics. That assessment is basically done with the help of some questionnaire which you ask from those stakeholders who are basically eligible to fill the assessment, to fill the survey. So it's not, I think we should not say survey, it's basically the assessment record. So here we have strategic alignment, and I can provide, is this related to corporate initiative? I can maybe put 10. With this increase, will this increase job efficiencies? Maybe I will put 0. I think maybe 10. Yes, it will be very efficient, right? Does this increase process consistent optimization? I will put 10 maybe, or maybe 5. Then we have, can we gain a competitive advantage? Yeah, we will. Yes, maybe I will put 5 again, or maybe 7. And then we will talk about risk. Now here I will provide data for risk. Is this susceptible to time delays? I think yes, it will be very, very risky. I think that is something you can put 1 to, maybe I will put 5. Does this fulfill compliance and regulatory requirements? Maybe 10. Yes. Does this require additional infrastructure, business expansion? Not at all, because ServiceNow doesn't need any extra infrastructure. So I will put 0. Does this contain significant dependencies? Maybe I can put 5. Yeah, we do have some dependencies. So maybe on the resources and some other stuff as well. And I will just click on submit. So this assessment is submitted. Now another one was Abraham, but before that, I will impersonate the demand manager and I will see how that record is looking. So I will impersonate demand manager again, and we will see that what kind of data he can see now, because one has submitted this particular assessment. It is still pending for Abraham Lincoln. So I will go to that demand. I will type demand here and I will click on all, and this is the one which we are working on, and I will go to here, and here if I see, I think I'm not able to see the data, but if I'm not wrong, if I will add idle user to this user, I think he'll be able to see that. Then we have, you can see now this time I have this strategic alignment. Now this is assessment results. Now these 3 results which we have here, this 1, 2, 3, I will maybe change this here, ROI, size and cost. Now these came from demand metrics, and this one, strategic alignment and risk, this came from the data I just submitted as part of this assessment. Perform assessment results review. So now once basically assessment is submitted and we all have results, like all results are available in this particular tab in this related list, then demand manager can review the assessment and then he can decide accordingly that whether this particular demand should be approved, should be qualified or not. And let's say you are fine after seeing the results, after seeing the assessment. If you are fine to go ahead with this demand, then what you will do, you will just click on qualify. Once you will do that, it will move from screen to qualified. You can see now it says qualified. Now here the process is around approval, because now somebody has to approve this. So if I come here, I think we don't have approvals here, but let me reload it and see. I think it should have some approvers. Idle demand manager can also approve it, but if I come here, you can see this Neva Marcel can approve this, even these 2 other as well. But let's do one thing, let's impersonate this and see if this user has got approval for this particular demand. So if I impersonate this user and I check if I have approval record approval, maybe I will go for demand. I think because maybe this user doesn't have approval role, that's the reason I think maybe this user cannot see that, but that's fine. I think we can still approve it from our own access, that is demand manager, not system administrator. We will approve it from demand manager. I will impersonate it again, demand manager, and then we can approve that. So basically you do the assessment first, and once you are satisfied that yes, this particular demand is ready to be maybe implemented, or we can definitely convert it into the projects, you can definitely approve that. So if I go here and I can just click on approve, you also have this option defer. And if you remember, I told you that we do have deferred state as well, but here I will just approve it. Once I will approve it, that means now this demand is approved. Create demand tasks. Now after approval of that demand, you can also create demand task. Means maybe the activities which are involved to complete this demand. So you can just go here, demand task, and you can create new demand tasks. So you can just click here, maybe start planning. We will just mention planning resources. That is one of the tasks we have, and you can put category, initial review, or its cost estimate, resource estimate. Yes, we can put the category as well. If you want to put the due date, you can put that. Maybe I will mention like this. And you can provide maybe assign to a group, you can assign to a person as well, and that's it, you're done. So one demand task is created. So that's how you can create a demand task. Now if I go to the related list, so you have demand task, we have created that, you have stakeholders, you also have requirements. Now implementation of mobile app, it's very high level requirement, but let's say you want to have some detailed requirements, that you can mention here as well in requirements. So if I click here a new button, and I can just mention maybe enable incident management in mobile app. And that's one of the requirement I have. Here it says type business solution functional quality. I think maybe type business maybe, and I can just click on submit. But this is one of the requirement. Now this requirement can definitely be the technical requirements if you want, that is also possible, but maybe related to business requirement, because that's the reason we have these type. You can see that what kind of requirement, it is a business, it is solution like functional or non-functional. That's how you can provide maybe quality, stakeholder, maybe there is a requirement for one of the stakeholder that you can mention, maybe in a transition like a knowledge transition maybe. So all those details you can mention here. So that's about basically the requirements. And if I go here, now we have these assessment instances, we have assessment results, we have cost plans, you also have resource plan. Now we will have a separate section for resource plan as well, that resource management application we have in ServiceNow under project portfolio management suites as well. And then we have this benefit plan. If you want to mention that what kind of benefit you will get with this particular implementation, that you can mention in this demand as well. RIDAC. Now another type of rackets which you can create in demand management, those are risk, issues, decision, action, change. However, these different rackets can also be converted from different type of racket. That means risk can be converted into issue, decision, action, or change. Similarly, like issue can be converted into decision, action, or change. It's basically the hierarchical structure we have in this RIDAC, but they can be created separately as well. So if I go to the demand, you can see here we have risk, issues, decisions, actions, and changes. Risk is something, if you get any risk, if you think there's an existing risk, then you can mention. If you have, or maybe you you think there's a potential risk, you can mention here. If you have any issues, you can mention here. If you want to take some decision, there's some decision pending, or we have to take the decision, you can mention here. If you have to take some actions, that you can mention here, or if you have to create some changes, that also you can mention here. If I click on new, I think this will basically, it will create the change request change. You can see here that what kind of change request is needed for that particular demand. So all these different records you can create in demand application as well. Moreover, the important piece is that you can convert those different records from each other. How? As I mentioned, let's create a risk first. So I will create a risk, and if I will create a risk, I will just mention test risk, and then I will just submit it. Now the thing is, you can see for every task, every record you create in demand, it always asks for cost, because it might happen, right, that every kind of activity needs some cost as well, and you can mention that if it is needed. So you can see we have created this particular risk, and then you can also create issues. But what I will do, I can show you something. So let me open this, and it says convert to RIDAC. Now it has a separate table. Now this RIDAC, now issues, actions, they are definitely connected to the demand record, but this RIDAC is a different table which shows all the conversions. I will show you that, but before that, let me convert it. Let's convert this risk into different other records. What are those records? Like issue, decision, action, request. If I select issue, let's say issue, and here it is asking you whether you want to close the risk. That's fine. Let's close this. I will click on OK. This way I will close the risk, and I will be able to open issue, a new issue. So if you click on OK, this will automatically create the record in that issue table. So you can see it says issue has been created. If I go bottom, now we have this one. If I click on this, you can see that risk got closed. Now here's the issue. If I click on this convert to RIDAC again, now you can convert this record only 3 records. As I told you, it's hierarchical. So here you can select decision, action, request, change. So I will select decision now, close issue, click on OK. So this is how you will be able to convert this issue into decision. And if I go here, I will just open this one now. Now you can also convert this one as well. So if I click here again, you can see now I can see only 2 records to select. That is action or request change. I can select action, close this decision, OK, and I will show you all the records which we created. Now this is action. I will click here because our decision got closed. And this one I will click again here, and now you can see I can only see this request change. The message which basically I understand from this, and you also need to understand, that you cannot convert basically an issue maybe to risk, because risk can be converted into issue and other 4 records you have. So I will close this action, click on OK. So all 5 records are created successfully. But what I will do, I will go to the demand now and see how exactly it is showing that those records, basically all those different records we have. So I come here and I will show you that all those 5 records will be there individually in all those different related lists. So we have 1 risk, we have 1 issue, we have 1 decision, but you can see all are closed because that's what we selected. And here we have request change. So finally we have created this request change. Now where exactly you can see all of these records together? As I mentioned, we have a different table where we have this mapping, that is view RIDAC. And if you will check that, and if I sort this, absolutely, you can see we got all these different records where we converted those records from each different other record. Now one thing we have, if I go to request change, this one, you have one more option here, associate RIDAC. If you will do that, you can associate this record with any other RIDAC record as well. Maybe I will, okay, other risk issue. If you want to do that, let's say if I select risk, it will ask which one, this task maybe. And if I click on OK, now what it will do, it will create associated with a test risk. Okay, if I come here, now you will see that record. Yep, we can see here we have this one and we have this one associated with this one as well. So we have action, or maybe I will do show matching, and yes, you can see. That's how you can basically you can see all those records together in one record only. That means all these mappings. So this is the association if you want to make with these different records. So overall, in your demand management, when you are managing any demand, and if you have to track issues, risk, decisions, actions, you can definitely do that. Even if you don't want to follow this RIDAC model, it's totally up to you. But just for managing things perspective as per the demand, you can directly use these issues, action, risk. And if you don't want to convert, that is totally up to the use case, or it's totally up to you how you manage different records in your organization. Now we are done with all the required information we need in a demand. So what is the next action? The next action would be converting a demand into a project. So if you open this demand, so this is the same demand record which was submitted. Now what you can do, you can just go to the related list. Here it says create project. Now we will convert this demand into a project, and we will see what kind of data will be pulled from that demand. So if I click on this create project, it will convert this demand into the project record. Now, what is project record and what is project management? That you will see in my next video. So here is, you can see it says project is created. If I click on this, I will just show you the glimpse of that project management form, that particular record of project management as well. So you can see it is converted. Now I only have demand manager role, so I cannot edit this, you can see, because I don't have project manager role. For that you will definitely need some more access, but the important piece here is that you can see that it is pulling a lot of data, like it is pulling I think let's go to financial. Yes, it is pulling financial data from demand itself, even business case, and let me check, yes, even score, and even these data. You can see we have we created one requirement, so that means it will pull all the requirements from demand record. It will also pull the cost plan. It will also show you the baseline. Now this baseline means that what is the baseline of this project. Now we will talk about it in next video, but overall it shows the baseline, that this is the baseline we converted this particular record from another demand. You can also see here risk, issues, decisions, actions, request chains, and you can also see stakeholders, that what all different stakeholders are involved even for the project. So that's how you can convert a demand into a project, and that's how you can manage different demands you get in your organization with the help of demand management application. I'm sure this is very efficient application. So if you get multiple demands and you don't know how to manage different requirement you get from your different customers, then I think it is really a great application you can definitely use in your organization to fulfill the demand of your customers. So thank you for watching this video. Have a great day.